You are not judged. You can just be who you are on any level. And I think also that's cool in wild community that we have women who are truly high up on podiums, and we have those that are not, but it's more about the community stuff and being together. After the races or on a camp or event, it doesn't matter how fast you are. You are just friends or you're just human beings talking about life and have a good time together. And I think that is the most important thing, like kindness, togetherness. That's the way we all level up.
Welcome to the Low Tide Boys, a Swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
I'm Chris, and it's episode 276 of the show. We have what could only be called a feel-good episode, celebrating basically 5 years of us working with Wild Swimrun, an awesome nonprofit helping get women and girls into the sport of swimrun. Joining us is a new board member and leader at Wild Swimrun is our friend Helene Ostet.
Yes. Great. We met her in person when we did Tala. She has been a fan from year one, very early on, a great supporter of ours. And she brings such a awesome energy and passion to swimrun. So we were really excited when she started to get involved with the wild community to translate that experience and really help, as she'll share in the episode, really helped shape her life and get her where she is today and helping women and girls do that in the future.
For sure. One of the things we always say that we love about swimrun is the community, and Wild Swimrun as a community really exemplifies why the sport is so special, why we think it's so great, and why we think everyone should try it. This conversation, we talked about the origins of Wild Swimrun, how she got involved, the origins of our association with them.
Yep.
And with that, we wanted to announce that we're redoubling our efforts to fundraise for the Wild Youth Initiative, which is to get women and girls scholarships to go to their camps that they hold different places around Europe. And they used to, maybe one in the US coming up. So if you go to our website, lowtideboys.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, you can donate. We want to get at least one more person. So with your help, we can celebrate our 5-year, anniversary of working with Wild Swimrun. Yeah. And in this conversation, like I said, we talked about the history of Wild Swimrun, what Helene's been up to, what the future holds, and why community, especially among women and girls, is so important, such a great way to help grow the sport of swimrun.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for a surefire way to get your name mentioned on the show, I would say slide a donation in there, and that is probably going to make it happen. I would say
for sure,
for certain. Yeah, so very excited. We have Tala Catalina coming up. Swimrun season has officially kicked off. We've had a swimrun happen in Australia, so that was really great to see. No big deal. A couple of one water racers came in first, but our good friend Emily,
a light day for him.
Yeah, just a light day, only one day, only a few hours. So it's just like a warm up for them. But our friend of the show, Emily, took second place in that one. I know she's hungry for more swim runs down under.
Yeah. And then we had end of an era at Swimrun NC, which happened this past weekend from recording. And we're going to do we're going to give a proper farewell in the coming weeks. But yeah, that race looked as epic as ever. Such a unique swim run. Tip of our hat to Herbert and other race directors who've been putting that race on as a nonprofit for 8 years.
Yeah, crazy. Really, really amazing stuff. And we were lucky enough to race it 1 year there. Really such a unique race. And I think it really captures all swimrun is about. I think what came through of that race and watching from afar and getting the FOMO situation here on the West Coast is one, just how, we made the joke, Herbert posted something is running around, and we said this the other year or the year we did it. I think Herbert has the most fun at that race. He's out there, he's chasing people around with the camera, he's cheering people on.
He probably clocked 20 miles.
Yeah, he probably bagged a 20 miler that day, but I think it just really fills him up so much to see how much joy people get out from swim running in this Hanging Rock State Park, which is really an amazing place to put a swim run on. So congrats everyone that did the final year of Swim Run NC. We have a workout of the week.
Oh, we do have a workout.
I have been getting notes. I know I went a little off the rails with the previous workout of the week, but people have been, hey, I enjoyed that. So
okay.
Catalina's coming up in just a few weeks here, so you might want to be doing your own Rust Buster swim run. I saw some folks getting out there on Strava, obviously joined into the Low Tide Boy Strava Club there, but, how do you kind of think about doing your swim runs? Chris and I, we've done a few Rust Busters and other swim runs in our day, but especially with Catalina, you kind of have a good idea of what the run legs and the swim legs are looking like. So we always open our swim runs with, depending how cold it is in the morning, 10 to 20-minute run to kind of warm up. And then we kind of do a ratio of like 2-to-1 run to swim ratio. So if we're doing a 20-minute run warm up, we'll do a 10-minute swim warm up, or 10-minute run, 5-minute swim, and then start to kind of lengthen that out. And the Rust Buster that I did last weekend wanted to get a couple longer runs in there, as well as some longer swims, because most of the swims in Catalina are going to be coming in that 600-800 length. So, hey, let's go out. Let's do a 20-minute run and then get in and do, we have Chris in our normal area. You've made a little course and we hit that swim a couple times.
Yeah, the long swim, which is about 800. Yeah.
I think it was like 15, 16, 17 minutes, somewhere around there. We actually did that one a few times. I kind of like on the swim runs, the Rust Busters, to kind of get more, have a heavier emphasis on the swimming, just to kind of, you got all your gear on, you can really practice. If you're doing it with your partner, obviously that's the best case scenario. You can practice your towing. So we did, about an hour, 60, 75 minutes of just kind of the longer swim runs and longer runs. And then we did a little transition practice, which is always a good idea. Transitioning is kind of something that, it takes a little bit of practice to kind of get back into the swing of it. Chris knows exactly where we jumped in, swam about a 400, got out, ran 400 back, and did 3 or 4 of those little loops. And then, hey, that's 8, 10 transitions, really trying to be snappy, coming out there, have your plan, maybe try to take a little bit of more of a dodgy exit to kind of, get yourself ready.
Yeah. And here's a pro tip on that. If you really want to start working on your transitions and you want to be as prepared for a race as possible, wear a bib if you have one.
Great call.
Because it's, you're going to have to deal with it during the race. So might as well practice like gaming it up, putting it down, kind of figure out what's going on. Just another little thing you'll have to fiddle with during the race. So might as well practice with it so you kind of have a plan of what you're going to do.
Great. And I had a couple intentions coming in. Yeah, bust the rust on that. I also wanted to swim. I filled my PFH hot flask up full. I didn't drink out of it, but I just had it in my suit to kind of get used to swimming and running with it full in my kit there, as well as like kind of practicing the fueling aspect. I know we've been really, we've been banging the drum on the fueling, but
appropriately so.
Of course. But during a trail run, it's much easier. Oh, you got your vest there, you pull your gel out, it's all great. Swim run, it's a little bit more complicated. Hey, I actually set a little 20-minute timer on my Garmin. I heard it go off when I was swimming. I'm like, okay, mental note, when you get out, bang a gel. And so kind of working on that, because in swim run, there is that variability. Busting the rust, swimming with the kind of a full flask, snappy transitions, and fueling, and mission accomplished.
Yeah. And I would say in terms of the length of that Rust Buster should be whatever, proportional to whatever race you're doing.
Yeah.
So we're doing the experience. Like, just do a couple transitions, just mess around, do a couple longer swims, just kind of get a feel for it all. Again, same principle. What are you going to do in a transition? What are you going to do first? Lift your goggles, get your pull buoy sorted, undo your paddles, whatever it is. Practicing all that stuff will just be really helpful on race day, so it isn't like a case of first impression. If you're doing the World Series distance at Catalina, for example, a little bit longer Rust Buster, a couple longer swims will kind of get you primed for what you're going to be expecting during the race, which is a great way to kind of build some confidence and kind of be ready for the challenge.
Let me ask you a question, Chris. We're coming to Catalina. I've never practiced with my partner before, where we have plans to do something on Saturday, the day before the race. Don't want to do a big effort. What do you think you would kind of recommend to people just kind of feeling it out for their first time with their partner?
It's a good question. I would definitely recommend going to one of the Envol clinics or whatever shakeouts happening, I guess there's 2 happening, one on the mainland and one on Catalina. So if you can get to one of those, that's great, because if there's anything that swim runners like more than swim running is talking to people about swim run. So you can go to these places and you have super experienced swim runners just ready to give you all the advice you can, probably more advice than you can handle, but all well-intentioned and really, really helpful. So, we've had people come up to us like, should I wear these shoes? And we're like, no.
Yes.
And them thanking us like during the race, being like, I'm so happy you told me not to wear those shoes, to everything from like, oh, how do I actually swim with a tether on? So that's a great way in a low pressure, low stakes kind of like environment to get all your questions answered. So highly recommend that. If you don't have access to a shakeout, seriously, if you're just meeting your partner the day before the race, I would say, have a conversation, talk about goals, get your tether sorted for sure. And then just kind of like, think through a couple scenarios, like do some transitions have a plan of like, hey, how are you feeling on the swim? How are you feeling on the run? Like, do we have somewhat of a plan going in as to what you're going to do? And obviously you can iterate from that of, depending what's going on. Like when I raced with Viv at Austin, it was pretty clear. She's like, okay, you need to lead all the swims because I haven't been doing a lot of swimming. I'm like, okay, noted. Let me just get that. Let me just wrap my head around that. And that type of stuff is really helpful. So certainly like align on goals, get your tether sorted, like get your technical swim running stuff sorted. Who's going to lead swims? Who's going to sight? How are you guys going to communicate? And go through some transitions and do rust the bus that way.
Yeah. And bust the rust.
But I say rust the bus.
And I wouldn't be so, the haze in the barn, as they say. Hey, there's not much you can do the day before to like hockey stick your fitness. So it's really going through the motions and kind of figuring it out.
Yeah, not engaging in what my former coach, Nate Helming, used to call FBT, fear-based training.
We've,
we're all been guilty of it, but guaranteed you're not going to unlock like the next level of fitness the day before the race on like an 800 swim or something like that. So better to keep it in your pants. And if you are going to go ballistic, save it for the last third of the race.
And final point I'll add to that, if you have any on the fence around gears, hey, should I wear my thermal thing or wear this suit or that suit? Try to answer those questions the day before and, commit. Yeah. Just commit to it and then know you don't have to worry about it in your head.
This is certainly something that we've been guilty of.
Yes, we have.
Looking at myself in particular. But yeah, commit to your gear, check your gear, check out your straps, making sure you don't have any micro tears or anything like that. The last thing you want is to have a bad race due like to mechanical, which is just really like an unforced error that if you can't prevent it, you should. And certainly before you get to Avalon, if you're staying in Catalina, it's gonna be much harder to get stuff like that. So finding that stuff out before you take a boat or however way you're getting to Catalina, that would be ideal.
Yeah, I don't think Safeway on Avalon is selling carbon fiber paddles. The last time I checked.
No, they certainly are not. Or, strap. Are they even selling straps, silicone straps?
Might have like some Cliff Bar or something that is a maybe there. And if you're listening to this now, make sure you head on over to Attila Race USA, where yours truly, the Low Tide Boys, Chris and Chip, we're taking over the IGs. It's been taken over. Currently,
by the time this airs, it'll be taken
over. So we'll have it on for a few days into the weekend. So you're going to get a look on what sort of training we're up to as we head down our training into Catalina is kind of tapering into that. And obviously we'll provide some tips and tricks to you all. But if you have any questions or anything, head on over and be sure to pop in. We'll be happy to see you in there.
Yeah.
But I think we pretty much did it.
I think so. I think with that, let's get into this conversation celebrating our 5-year anniversary of working with Wild Swimrun, an amazing organization and an amazing human, Helene.
I'm wild about this one. Go donate. lowtideboys.com, Wild Swimrun.
Very excited to welcome to the show Helene Ostet. We've known her for a long time. Before we get into our conversation about Wild Swimrun, we've been doing this lately, but we usually thank you at the end, but I think we're just going to thank you at the beginning. You've always been so kind and generous with us. When we came to Attila for the first time, you were injured, you brought us fika, you hung out with us, you made sure we were taken care of. And, that always stuck with me. And it just, it's just like the best parts of the swimrun community are really the people. And, every time I think about you, every time I see you on social media, I know I'm speaking for Chipper. She's a solid person. She's a great person. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been great getting to know you over these years. And it was really good meeting you in Sweden, Stockholm, some time ago now. But actually, I don't know if you remember, we also met the second time, but you were doing the World Championships for the second time. So you were in a little bit of a rush that time. But
that's right. I think it was right before we were going on
Orna, right?
Yeah, it was just where, where the swing is, the energy station where the swing is, just before the owner. And at that time, I sadly couldn't meet you up at the finish line. But yeah, so we saw each other briefly.
That's a very interesting place to engage with somebody, because if you're like, hey, I'm about to go on the meatiest chunk of this race, but great to see you again. How's it going? Oh, you're shedding energy. You're trying to get charged up to get there. You're trying to eat tons of food. Yeah. Not as attentive as we would have liked, I'm sure. I can probably vouch.
We were certainly happy to see you both. You and Mia were there. But yeah, I think we could spend a lot of time reminiscing about the World Championship, and I think we already do that in the show a lot. But we're here to talk about Wild Swimrun, and And Helene, the last time we talked about Wild Swimrun was all the way back in episode 10. You can believe that. We had just recorded with Fanny and Mia on Catalina Island, learned about Wild Swimrun, started a fundraiser afterwards, had them on the show. And, this organization, basically, we've been supporting it as long as we've had this show. So for folks that don't want to go back, and I don't even know if I'd recommend people
Please
to hear
don't
us
go
in
back.
Folks,
episode 10.
but for folks who don't know about Wild Swimrun, why don't you tell us, tell people what it is.
Yeah, so we are an organization that we're trying to inspire more women into the sport of swimrun, and actually also families, and we do kids swimrun as well. But it starts with the women. And Mia and Fanny, as you said, they started it 2019, 2018, and you met them in Catalina. And I joined 2021 as a partner in Wild Swimrun, but I've been a part of their community since the start. So it's all about creating a warm, inclusive community for women to try the sport, to get to know each other, and to talk about all things swimrun. And actually, we also talk about all things in life, of course. And although I am in Sweden, we try to be a little bit more worldwide. And in this digital era, you don't have to be in Sweden to join Wild Swimrun at all. We do camps and we do events, and of course, more events in Sweden, but we try to have some events, at least in Europe. We have had that every year. So we just want to inspire more women to try the sport and to stay in the sport. Even though we are in Wild Swimrun, we try to be like the low threshold to join swimrun. You don't have to stay with us. You can go on and don't come back to Wild Swimrun, but many women do, and we have a great community of women.
Awesome. And it also is a Facebook group as well. So sort of that digital space to connect on a regular basis. And I'm sure there's probably lots of different questions and great discussions in that Facebook group. It's sort of centered more around the camps, which you all would have around in a really accessible place, judgment-free zone to come out and do something that is a little bit unique in swimrun to do it without having to worry about anything else, in a very welcoming community.
Yeah, we just want women to try, and also kids, but we want them to try. We can borrow them gear if they don't have any. You don't have to buy anything to come to us. We will lend you stuff so you can try, and then you can get the gear that suits you. And we want to show that doesn't have to be all about the races. You can do it in your own backyard, and it can just be a fun activity. And it can be a hard, tough sport, but it doesn't have to be. It really can be for everyone and at all fitness level, at all ages. So we try to inspire everyone to try, because I think still, even though swimrun's been for a long while in Sweden now, many still think that it is type of an extreme sport. But we want to show that it's not.
Yeah, and I think we see this in a lot of the European races, that the men's division is very well subscribed, the mixed usually pretty good, and in the women's division there's always a lot fewer. Even if it's like a third of the field, that would be a lot. And we notice that it's like more women should be doing the sport, and maybe it's like the extremeness of it, or the fact that Attila itself is such a beast of a race, but there's obviously shorter swim runs. Interestingly, I think one thing we've been seeing in the US, and our good buddy Dave, who put together sort of a breakdown of the World Championship this year, a lot of the women's field is coming from the US. So I'm curious, what do you think that Wild Swimrun needs to do kind of in Europe to kind of get the same sort of response to some of the longer distances that you're finding here in the US?
Well, I think we need to look at it like, how do we get more women wherever they are? But I'm happy to see that there are many females from US coming to represent. That's fine. That's great. Maybe we can show that it is fun, it's an inclusive environment, and that we see more and more females getting into endurance sports, and that we do want to support that. And we want to see maybe we can sort of let them see that we have a community, and it's not about the races only. It's also like networking, having fun together, being part of something more than just swimming, running, or doing the races. And I think we just also need to make sure that it's out there, it's been seen, and not social media, of course. but to get more airtime, whatever it is, because I think we have a lot of females that would do great in the long distance. It's just about letting them know that it's available and it's out there. And also, I do think if we don't talk about only the long races, we talk about the shorter ones. I think that for us to try, and of course I'm generalizing now, but for us females to try, we want to sometimes to do it more in an inclusive environment. It's not only to go to do a race. We want to feel that we do it with friends, that we are in a setting that feels comfortable, even though we're absolutely tough. We can do tough things. It's not about that. It's about feeling that we take the time to do something fun. It's not just only the race that can be super hard, but we also want to do it together with friends and have fun at the same time. So that's why the community thing, I think, is a good thing. To make sure
we
that
talk about it all the time. I mean, Chipper and I, maybe once an episode, we talk about it in terms of like one of our favorite things about Swimrun is really the community, right? And for us, it's just like, just get to a race. You'll see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Just sign up. Like, trust us on this. You'll see what's so special about this thing. And I guess it's similar to what you guys are trying to do, which is just essentially highlight this piece of the sport that's such a vibrant and welcoming piece of it.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do now as well with the upcoming race. We have a collab with Ute, so we're trying to do like a whole race weekend of it. We will arrive the day before and try out the course, try out gear, maybe practice with a teammate. And for some, it actually will be the first time they compete with their teammate. While they meet up digitally and then they meet up for the first time at the race sometimes. And that will happen this year again in Ute. So we will arrive the day before, do that, and then we will have dinner, and then we will actually have a race director meet us and talk to us about the upcoming races and so on. So that's all about trying to create a community thing, a warm, including environment when there's something more happening than just go to the race and go home. The spin-off of that, as you say, the warm community feeling, so we want to keep it and pack it for 2 days.
Yeah, I love that's such a great. We've seen that work really well in the US for the races. Like in the United States, certainly there's a lot more unfamiliarity with Swimrun and kind of like, oh, what's all this gear? I haven't actually tried to put it on before or tried to do a transition, or I haven't worked the tether out with my partner. So these shakeout Swimruns or clinics or however you want to call them the day before is a great place to do that. And if someone's showing up there, I think what we've seen as well from, some other Wild Swimrun fans like Trista and Amy, the Adorkables, they see someone new come in, they really swarm them and give them the hug essentially of like, hey, you're new here. Let us help you. We'll show you. We can introduce you to everything and answer all your questions. And really, if we see them on the outskirts of the community, let's bring them on in. And, once you're in, it's tough to, I guess this is not sounding like a sales pitch. It's sounding like... Yeah, but give them the warm community hug.
Yeah, and that's so nice. That's what it should be about. Like, come join us. They are so good at making people feel welcome, and that's what we also want to do at Ute now. We hope for newcomers to come and feel like they are included, and that we want them there, and we want them to stay. They don't have to stay with Wild going forward. That's fine, but we want them to stay in the community. I thank Trista and Amy for doing that when they see newcomers, mainly then in the US. It's hugely important, I think, for newcomer to feel like I am wanted here.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what we don't want is the experience of like you're showing up at your like high school dance without a date and you're just like kind of standing on the sidelines. It's like, come on over, and then I think because the sport is so small, well, I have a theory. I think because the sport is still so small and we all think that it's like such a cool thing that whenever other people come in, we're just like, join us, like come over, like you'll think it's cool too. But we could just talk about how great it is all day. But I wanted to ask you, so one of the things that Wild Swimrun does really well is collabs, works with partners. You've gotten a lot of support from the Swimrun community. But lately, one in particular that's near and dear to our heart is Frank Paddles. So why don't you tell us how you guys met with Frederic and how that collab came to be?
Well, actually, we had a long time collab with Frederic. He's been a supporter of us since the beginning. I remember when I wasn't a part of Wild more than I was going to the events. I was part of the community, but not all. And we had Frank paddles. We had the Pinky, the smaller ones. He has been a huge supporter from the beginning. It's been really cool to have such great paddles.
Yeah.
But then we had a chat not that long ago again and talked about how could we collab going forward. It was actually Frederick that thought about, well, why don't we make a special swimrun paddle for your community that's only for the wild community? Or at least it symbolizes the wild community. And today it still is exclusively for us, but maybe in the future, we don't know, of course. It could be fun to see more people wearing it. But it's a great collab. We're super happy that Frederick wanted to do that for us. And also, it was not only about the paddle itself. We started to talk about the importance on how we use paddles. We actually also did, in the beginning of this year, we did a paddle pool boy course where we had a swim coach teaching our women how to swim with paddles. And he was there talking about the history and why you use different paddles, why they look different way they do. And so not only the technique, they got the technique from the swim coach, but they also got his point of view on why the paddles look like they do. And at that evening, we actually got to try your paddles out as well. That was really cool. So how do you feel with your new paddles now? Have you been able to try them out now for a while? Or?
Oh, we love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, big fans, definitely, and making instant promotion to the race kit.
Oh yeah. Even when we were still testing the prototypes, I raced them at Attila Austin. Like, no problem. They're awesome. And Frederick, again, talk about another member of the swimrun community that loves it so much. You know, these paddles are made by hand. You don't need to hear us talk about how amazing these things are, but this is like a bespoke product. And the fact that he takes his time and thinks about the intention about what he's doing is so great. And yeah, when we heard that he was partnering with you guys or that there was a collab paddle coming out, like, of course, because that's exactly something he would do because he's such a great guy.
Yeah, he's such a great guy. We truly love it, Frederick, and we try to support him as much as we can, but he's great. And it's so cool that he's doing the paddles himself and that they are made in Sweden and that they are truly sort of handmade by love and knowledge.
The real artisan effort for sure by Frederick. Now, Helene, part of the Wild Swim Run, at least when we were chatting, was really centered around the camps that you all would have. Would love to hear a little bit more about what a camp looks like and maybe some upcoming ones that you have planned. I know Sweden is probably where most of them are taking place, but they also go to some very, very nice locations as well.
Yeah, we have one coming up in May in Mallorca, Spain. And we've been there before, so we know this is a great place.
Where I went on my honeymoon.
Oh, it's a great island.
You didn't invite me, Chris?
No.
The one
Yeah,
time
the only
away.
time I wasn't invited.
I'm glad to hear that, actually.
Yeah.
Well, no, we're going back to Mallorca. We were there in 2023 in springtime, and we're going back now. And so we try to keep the camps, well, there need to be a few days, but we don't want it to have a whole week. So we do Thursday to Sunday. And sometimes we all stay maybe until Monday due to flight schedules and all that. But the camp is like, the schedule is Thursday to Sunday. So we start out with trying to try open water, try the pool, run sessions. We also focus a lot about showing strength exercises, movement. But so we start out like taking shorter sessions with trying out stuff. And then we focus one day on the gear. That usually is the Friday. And maybe we start also to work on transitions. It's all a little bit depending on who are participating. But usually we have a few beginners, and then majority is actually people coming back to our camps. But that is great. That is a perfect mix, because then when we like train for transitions, you can be with someone who is a little bit more experienced than you, and you can talk on why you do things the way you do it. And of course, we have a coach with us. And this year we have Josephine Jalvert joining us in Mallorca in May. You know, she came second in the World Championships last year. So she's super experienced and knows everything about fast transition. So we do that. And on Saturday, we usually have a swimrun adventure. And this year we will go through sort of like the coastline A to B, on where we will be on the south part of Mallorca. And then Sunday, along there, pool session, and then we maybe say goodbye and go home in the afternoon.
Nice. That sounds like a great time. Take some notes for us at that transition clinic, please. Thank you.
Yeah, you can never
Always
be
could
fast
use more
enough.
tips. Could use some more tips.
Yeah, and that's usually one really popular thing to do, to actually, because we are so lucky to have had such great coaches with us. You know, we have had them as well. In last time, 2023, when we were in Mallorca, she was with us. I mean, it's such a great thing to be behind her, like doing a transition with her behind tethered, and then you just go. She's like, I mean, there are torpedoes in the water, so it's like, okay, you need to be fast, learn to put the gear on fast, and then just go behind them. The coaches usually do a lot of loops, so everyone can have that feeling of how is a really fast transition and how is the joy of it, and then just cruising away in the water.
Yeah. I actually think, sort of following behind someone more experienced is probably going to help accelerate your learning a little bit, because I think if you're standing on the sidelines and watching it, you're just like, oh my God, it's a lot happening kind of at once. But if you're sort of trial by fire, I guess the way to put it, you can kind of learn a little bit more quickly on that piece. How I think one thing for transitions that we try to preach is like, get everything figured out way before. If you see the water or see a transition coming up, that's a good time for you to start like, hey, let me make sure my goggles are like, ready to go down, or my pull buoy's kind of a little bit more in a better place, or maybe I'm zipped up, rather than, I think the mistake that a lot of beginners make is like, oh, my toes are in the water. Let me get started with this thing. It needs to happen a lot earlier. I think a veteran or a very experienced swim runner can kind of help guide, navigate that a little bit.
Exactly. We talk all about the communication. Usually talk to your partner, help each other to get ready, because you always forget something. Sometimes you think you have everything on, and then, oh damn, the pool boy wasn't there. So it's like,
yeah.
it's always something.
Guilty.
Yeah, I was just going to tell this story. I think this was a couple years ago where I forget which race, but it's the first swim, and Chipper's like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "I'm ready." I'm like, "Are you ready?" He's like, "Yeah." And it's like his pool buoy was still on his back. So I just stood up. I just wait. I was like, he jumped in and gets up. He's like, "What?" Like, you ready now? Yeah. So it happens. It happens to the best of us. Certainly, we've all been guilty of forgetting to zip up the suit when we get in the water and find out right away that you've forgotten to do that. Thing that I love about Wild Swimrun, and we already alluded to it, is this idea of community and the fact that Swimrun is a great vehicle for bonding. We've heard over the years of people that have met at Wild Swimrun and become friends and have dealt with life challenges and been supported in that. So, let's just talk a little bit about that, because I think it's one thing to have this community be centered around the sport, but in many ways, it could just be ping pong. It could be anything. It's like, what do you think it is about the Wild Swimrun community that's so supportive and helps people not just use sport as a vehicle for transformation, but also like as a vehicle for camaraderie and community?
Well, as you said, we center around Swimrun and connecting to nature and doing this thing, but we all have our challenges in life and go through stuff. Once you're in it and you feel supported and you feel that it's a warm, inclusive environment, you are more open and willing to talk about things that are going on with you, because you don't feel judged. It's a safe place. And so that's why I think so many women also stay in the wild community, because they do make friends and they can chat about whatever they need to chat about. And of course, even though we talk a lot about Swimrun, especially on camps, as we talked about earlier, there are many hours in a day. So we get the chance to talk about everything. And we can see that when you sort of strip down everything else, you're there maybe on a camp or on an event. You're there because you have Swimrun together, but we all are people and we all have challenges. We all have stuff that we need to talk about and that maybe concerns us. And so it's great to feel that, okay, I'm not judged here. I can just hear about someone else's opinion on something, or get support, or maybe just tell what's going on with me. Maybe I don't need sort of a help I just want to talk about something in a safe environment. And I think I really feel that is a huge part of Wild. And I feel that's why we stay, and that's why we keep being as friends. You are not judged. You can just be who you are on any level. And I think also that's cool in Wild community, that we have women who are truly high up on podiums, and we have those that are not, but they do the shorter races, but it's more about the community stuff and being together. After the races or on a camp or event, it doesn't matter how fast you are. You are just friends, or you're just human beings talking about life and have a good time together. And I think that is the most important thing, like kindness, togetherness. That's the way we all level up.
We should probably just end the
agree.
conversation right. That was great. Yeah, I mean, there's something about like, I mean, I've certainly, Chipper and I are really good friends. We're brothers at this point. We've done a lot of experiences together, not just in Swimrun. But I think like, what really cements that friendship for us is our own community, right? Our own willingness to be vulnerable with each other and support each other. He's seen me in my worst. I've seen him with his knee blown up twice its size, like all this stuff. And and it's something that, ultimately, all these activities transcend sport, especially when you're not a professional. But it's sort of, the challenge of it, the vulnerability of it, the shared experience of it, all these things help you kind of transcend the thing into something new. And I think like Wild Swimrun is such a great example of kind of what's possible with Swimrun in a sense, in terms of like, yes, it's around this theme of this sport that not a lot of people know about. But it's so much more than that. And it is, as you mentioned, it is about like kindness. And we've certainly felt it. I mean, when we first went to Sweden in, when was it, Chipper? 2023? 2022?
22? Let me see.
Yeah, 2022.
22.
Oh, I remember telling Chipper, like, I was like, of course, I understand why the sport started here, because everyone was being so nice. Everybody was being so friendly. And I was just really taken aback by it. It's like, it seems obvious to me that the sport of Swimrun started there, because it was so welcoming, so opening, and people giving us fika recommendations, almost like unsolicited fika recommendations. I mean, you showed up with fika.
I was soliciting.
We're doing
them.
a Swimrun practice. It's like
Ella's
sacred,
Garden,
at Hella's Garden, this like sacred Swimrun place where the first short course Swimrun ever happened. And you're just riding up on your motorcycle with like fika for everyone. I mean, it was just great.
Yeah, but isn't that what life is all about? Just like having fun together, doing stuff, whatever it is, and just being like warm to each other. And like, this is what we like to do. And in Sweden, we do like fika. So of course, we want you to try and be a part of it. It's like, isn't that part of life? Fika, Swimrun, friends.
Hold.
You should put that on a t-shirt.
That would be a good t-shirt.
Yeah.
Nice. And you've had your own Swimrun journey. I know, over the years you've been sort of battling or coming back a little bit from injury and shoulder surgery. I'm pretty sure. How is everything going now? And when do you think you'll be out there swim running again?
Yeah, hopefully this season actually. But
Nice.
yeah, I'm beginning to get back to swimming and getting slowly better and better. Yeah, so it's been 3 shoulder surgeries actually in this one. Taking a long time, several years. And so I'm really longing to get back. Even though I've been missing swim running, of course, I've been trying to stay active, and there's a lot of other stuff you can do in the swimrun community. You can cheer on, and I've been organizing stuff for our wildies. Even though it's really tough mentally to be injured for such a long time, in the swimrun community and in the wild community, it's been a good supportive environment to sort of help me keep sane through this time and motivating me to get back and to stay active every day, although I can't do the swimrun, the thing I love, but to do something else like running, biking, or whatever it has been. Yeah. So I'm really happy to hopefully swimrun soon again.
Yeah, we see you on the IGs, doing work at the gym and stuff.
Well, thank you. Thank you for noticing.
Insta like on that anytime stuff. Go ahead.
Well, for me, swimrun has been hugely important. If I haven't found swimrun, I wouldn't be an active person, and my life would be totally different than it is today. I have swimrun to thank for so much, and it Swimrun, and mainly the Swimrun community, of course, because I was weighing more than 100 kilos, and I was actually a smoker, and I was not active. I've never been active before in my life, but I saw this cool thing, and I wanted to do it, but of course, I didn't have the courage. But I started to be around swim runners, and I started to volunteer at races. And on that path, here I am today. Swimrun has really transformed my life, and I'm hugely thankful for the Swimrun community. Of course, the wild Swimrun community, but also the Swimrun community as a whole. Haven't they been so inclusive and warm and accepting me as I was and as I am, my life wouldn't be so rich as it is today.
Wow.
Now that's the second time.
This is the second
conversation.
T-shirt we have. We have 2 T-shirts to make after this.
But I think that's why I'm so passionate about wild swimrun, and why it's so great that it's me, Fanny, and Mia, because we represent so many within the community. We have our world champion, we have Fanny, one of the greatest racers, and we have me, who wasn't active at all. And we want to show that this is truly for everyone. Truly.
I love that. I love thinking of it in terms of like there's this spectrum.
Yeah, range.
And you can be the world champion, once there's the Swimrun Hall of Fame, probably a first ballot, she's getting in right away. On the other end, you have people who maybe don't even know how to swim. And within the spectrum, everyone's welcomed. It doesn't, again, like the racing, it's almost like incidental to all the other benefits you get from it. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the beauties of this thing. And similar, I mean, I know Chipper and I felt this when we were on the World Championship course. It's like, hey, we are on the path that so many others before us have gone on. And that feels really special. And I think, again, whether you're on the World Championship course or you're doing like the UTA experience race, it's all really the same. It's all really about just getting out there and kind of seeing what you're made of and having this shared experience. Or if you're doing it solo, you're still sharing the experience with all the other racers.
Yeah. But I mean, experience at UTE can be your world championship. I mean, it all depends on where you are on your journey. And I mean, the effort you put in and the performance, I mean, it's based on where you are. So it's as much of a victory to pass the finish line on the experience course as it is after World Championships or maybe sprint or the World Series. I mean, it all depends on where you come from and where you are.
Totally. And I think that's where I think we try to do a really good job on the show of just kind of like validating everyone's experience. Because like we don't know, like you sign up for the experience. We don't know what it took you to get there. Maybe you got divorced and this is your big coming out, or maybe you came back from a big injury, or maybe you lost a bunch of weight, or you whatever. And, it's almost like you made it to the start line, respect, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even matter if you finish. It's like you showed up at the start line. That's it. Like you accomplished the biggest part of the goal. And then I think in that respect, I think you're totally right, Helene. Like, like UTA experience could be your world championship. And that's great. Full stop. Like it doesn't need to be anything else. And I think that's one thing that we try to talk to people about. Yes, we've done the world championship. Yes, we think it's amazing. If you want that to be part of your journey, that's great. But by no means is it a requirement in the sport of swimrun to somehow be able to do this super long day, right? If you just want to do short stuff, that's fine. You just want to do, one water race once a year, get your ass kicked for 3 days, that's fine. Whatever you want. It's all good.
You will all find something. And I can take the opportunity to say that I've loved your podcast from the beginning. I've been a huge supporter of you from the very start. And that because I think you were also in your start of your journey. Sometimes podcasts are from experts trying to tell someone else that this is the way to do something. But you were more like, okay, we found this great thing we want to share. I have always been so interested in learning and hearing about what other people have to say about it. And so that's why I've loved the show from the beginning, because it has been, you've been like open, humble to like you don't know everything and this is a new sport, and you have certainly have experienced amazing swim runners on the show, but they have also been rather humble. This is a new sport. We don't know everything yet. And then, like, gear is changing, stuff is changing, how we compete is changing. thank you for that, for being open-minded and really interested and spreading the word, and sort of not having the attitude like, you know everything. Yeah, when you do know, you share your experiences and your insight, and that's great, but also open to, well, this is a living thing. We don't know really what Swimrun will be in 5, 10, 20 years.
True.
Well, something that we have done, way back when we chatted with Mia and Fanny, on that dock at Catalina in 2020, Chris and I always felt inspired to try to help out and do what we could there. So, we've always had a donation button for Wild Swimrun on our Low Tide Boys site, but it is something that we haven't given enough of a platform. And I think today's a great opportunity that we're want to remind everybody and, officially launch our fundraiser for Wild Swimrun. Our goal is raising enough funds to support one camp entry for a new woman to experience a Wild Swimrun event. So that's our goal from the Low Tide Boys. And then you can head to the Low Tide Boys. We got a donation button right at the bottom, and we take that money and we pass it right over to the Wild Swimrun crew for that camp entry. So yeah, we're excited to drive more awareness to that and hopefully get another entry or two for you all. Over the last 5 years, 2 or 3 entries, I think, Chris. I don't have the exact number,
think
at least a
3
couple.
entries. And I think what we need to do, Chipper, we need to find, so after Catalina, when we met with Fanny and Mia, we did these funny videos to try to jumpstart the fundraiser, and there's a bunch of really funny outtakes. I mean, these things are super old, but we have to try to find these.
I don't
and
remember
reshare them
this.
because they were so funny. We were in your garage. It was COVID time.
And yes. Okay.
I kept messing with you. That's so great. But yeah, so I think we've raised enough for 3 people, and that's just been the community coming together. So as Chipper mentioned, just go to lowtideboys.com. Right at the bottom of the homepage, you'll see a donate button for Wild Swimrun. Let's really try to get at least one more person to one of these camps. As Helene mentioned, it's all about getting women and girls and families into the sport of swimrun. And if we're going to grow this thing, we're going to share this thing that we love so much, this is a great way to do it and support a great organization. Helene, it's been so great to have you on the show. It's so great to see you again. Hopefully it won't be too long before we see you in person again, but thank you so much for taking the time and sharing with us, and obviously for everything that you do for the sport of swimrun.
Well, thank you so much. And from Wild Swimrun, a huge, huge, huge thank you for all the love and support that you have had for us ever since that episode 10. Thank you so much. And for Wild Youth Initiative, and thank you for wanting to keep on the fundraiser for Wild Swimrun. Truly, thank you so much.
Of course.
The heart emojis all around for sure.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a rating or review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swimrun.
Check out our website, lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z, for swimrun resources, including gear guides, tips, how-to videos, and so much more. Make sure to check out our meme page at The Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, send us a DM or email us at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swimrun and other activities.
Lots of activities.
Lots of activities.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Then a run.
And then a swim.
Then another run.
Then another swim.
Then run some more.
Just keep going.
Let's go.
And then stop at some point because,
And fuel. Don't forget to fuel.
Gotta fuel
Of
too.
course, yes.